Thank you, Your Royal Highness, honored guests and delegates. You might have heard the whispers this week. We're starting the conversation about an issue that too many people have been silent on for too long. And we will begin with an educational aspect, as we know that education is an important part of our program. I would like you to raise your hands when I say a number of statements if you think that they're true or not. An Ethiopian study found 23% of girls reported being sexually assaulted on their way to or from school. How many believe that this is true? Girls in Ecuador identified teachers as abusers in 37% of the reported sexual violence in schools. How many of you think this is true? In Pakistan and India, girls have a 30 to 50% higher chance of dying before they turn 5 than boys do. Do you think this is true? In the US, 83% of girls aged 12 to 16 has experienced harassments at school. Do you think this is true? Raise your hand if you think it's true. Yeah. And in Europe, 19% of women and men found it justifiable for a man to beat his wife. Do you think this is true? You've probably already guessed. Actually, and unfortunately, all of the answers are true. So as you can see, violence against girls and women is one of the most widespread violations of human rights around the world. And unfortunately, it's not getting better. As the world stays silent, girls continue to be exploited, abused, and killed. Their voices are silenced, and their choices are limited. This is wrong, and it must stop. And our movement has an integral role to play in righting these wrongs. Susan Matters from Girl Guides Australia said, "Someone once told me that making a difference at a global level was like pushing an elephant with one hand through a small door." I have to admit, I thought that was a bit funny, because I knew I had at least 9,999,999 pairs of hands to push that elephant. Today, violence against girls is the elephant in the room. The World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts has the intention and momentum to push it out. Since the inclusion of developing a global advocacy campaign in the 2009 to 2011 strategic plan, we've been working on bringing this to life. Personally, I've been involved in it for the past 2.5 years, so I'm very proud to launch our new campaign. But today, it's not just about unveiling the campaign. You will not only see and hear about it, you will in fact be the very first people to add your voice to it, to speak out for girls and to insist that the violence must end. Because together, we can stop the violence and speak out for girls' rights. This is our key proposition. All girls have the right to live free from violence and the fear of violence. Our focus is on girls because they are particularly vulnerable to violence as both female and children. Yet there are too few programs, resources, and funds dedicated to girls and violence. Our campaign is unique because it's not about saving girls or treating them like victims. Girls are actually one of the world's greatest untapped resources and are the instigators of their own futures and the leaders of change within their communities and globally. So we need to support and empower girls to understand their rights and have the confidence and skills to speak out for themselves and for other girls and women. So this campaign is about building a global alliance of people who believe that violence against girls is an injustice that we've stayed silent on for too long. Building from a whisper to a shout, we need to talk, join together, and take action to stop the violence.
I'm starting the whisper.
I'd like to join the conversation. I want to talk about my right to be respected.
want to be heard.
And I want to listen.
Girls in every country across the world are being subjected to many forms of violence. This is wrong and must stop. Girls have the right to live free from violence and the fear of violence. They need to be aware of their rights and find the voice to create global movement and actions to end the violence.
I want to be part of this conversation. I believe every girl has a right to feel safe.
I want to end the silence.
I am going to shout about my right to be valued.
We're starting the shout! Building from whisper to a shout, we need to talk. Join together and inspire action around the world. The World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts is running a campaign to stop the violence. We're building a global movement of people who believe that violence against girls is an injustice that we've stayed silent for too long. We're going to launch a non-formal education curriculum on ending violence. Most importantly, we're going to speak out for girls' rights, and we're asking you to join the conversation.
Every girl has the right to live free from violence.
So let's end the violence against women. Let's
Es
make it
importante
a better future for our
como
children.
asociación para atender
I'm hailing from Nigeria.
Ignoring violence against girls or pretending that it's not there is the same as accepting it.
Add your voice.
So, our new campaign asks everyone to stop violence and speak out for girls' rights. There can be no arguments as to the justness of this cause. But why are we, Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, taking a lead to stop the violence? Why? A, because we must. It is estimated that up to 6 out of every 10 girls and women will experience violence and or sexual abuse in their lifetimes. These girls are our members, they are friends, and they are our family. They live in the communities where we have pledged to make a difference. We have a responsibility towards them, and therefore we should provide them an opportunity to empower girls to speak out and take action. B, because we can. We are the voice of girls and young women. We work with 10 million girls worldwide, and many countries have already started working on this issue. C, because education is key. Education, and in particular non-formal education, has a huge role to play in ending violence. We are experts in non-formal education, and we have proved this through programs like Global Action Theme. By empowering girls and young women to understand and assert their rights, you create a powerful force for transformation. By challenging gender stereotypes and reaching out to boys and young men through non-formal education, you challenge the root causes of violence. D, because you told us this is important. We identified this issue in various consultation process. This was highlighted in our Vision 2020 consultation process, also during YWWF and CSW events. And finally, because no one else is. You might think there are a lot of campaigns going around the world to end violence against girls. There are some that focus on ending violence against women. There are some that focus on ending specific form of violence in specific place. But there are no global campaigns dedicated to ending violence in all its forms against girls and young women. UN Women's End Violence Against Women section tells us that this is a space where there is no data, no voice, no program, and no investment, and our research shows this to be true.
Our education program on ending violence and girls' rights is a unique program because this will be a global action program and unique in its kind. So now it's up to us to speak out for girls' rights, and we are asking you to join the conversation. That conversation can be between two friends or between 10 million of us, all shouting for the same thing. And with our voices and with our actions, we are going to change the global conversation, change our others' behavior and influence legislation, policy and investments so that girls, their rights, their freedom and their very lives are a priority and a reality. During the consultation process of Vision 2020, Burundi told us that they want to see a country in which girls' voices and roles are recognized by the whole of society, a country in which girls' rights are no longer violated and where they are no longer victims of gender-based violence of any kind. Now we have with us some members who will tell us why is it important for them to become part of this campaign and how will they be adding their voices to it. I'd like to invite Lena from Lebanon, Rachel from Canada, Maria from Costa Rica, and Pipa from UK to share their views.
Your Royal Highness, Sisters in Guiding, and honored guests. My name is Lina, and I'm from Lebanon. With my voice, I want to justify why I think Lebanon should be part of the global advocacy campaign. As I was contacted by WACS for the first time, asking me to be a part of the GEC team, I promptly responded positively because the issue was so close to my heart. I had found out during the YWWF preparations that out of the 4 sessions I was involved in, the advocacy session was really me. But after that first okay, things started happening around me. That reconfirmed that my answer was not only because of a personal preference. A couple of weeks ago, there was a discussion within our political circles about passing a rule that allowed Lebanese mothers to pass the Lebanese nationality to their children, as did Lebanese fathers. As a response to that, the male Minister of Social Affairs held a press conference, and in his team there was 1 silent female minister and 1 silent female who chaired a women's association. Where are we, I thought. Then came the second event. After months of waiting, a new government was formed that had no female minister. The outgoing one had at least 2. As a response and reaction, a handful of women organized a sit-in in front of the parliament to protest about this inequality and injustice. No one even reacted to that very shy protest. Where are we, I thought once again. But both these events were generally about women's rights. But then came the third event that added the straw to the camel's back. An established female organization in Lebanon, working with the UN, raised an issue about violence against women. And all of a sudden, a reaction came from many community leaders saying they even refused to look into that matter, saying that interfered with their family privacy. So I suddenly realized that these women had no one to go to and no platform to make their voices heard. It was then, really, that I packed my bags and prepared myself to go onto the advocacy train that was to leave at the 34th World Conference in Edinburgh. I always thought that the problem lied within us, within our girls. Then I realized the solution lied in our girls as well, because they would be our agents of change. That is why I believe that Lebanon should be in that train, advocacy train, to act locally, regionally, and even internationally. And I'm sure that there will be a side effect, a positive one, that more and more girls would be interested and that they would join us. Thus, this will be allowing us to hit Linden's 99% potential audience and thus increase our membership. Thank you.
I'm Rachel from Canada, and I'm going to use my voice to ensure that girls are given a safe space to speak out against violence, even if it's only a whisper. As a young WAGS representative, I am honoured to be sharing in the launch of the WAGS campaign, Stop the Violence. In Canada, violence against girls and young women, especially those of Aboriginal descent, is sadly still widespread. I see the Stop the Violence campaign as an important step for guiding as we challenge perceptions and speak out on an issue that matters to Canadian girls and to our sisters in guiding and scouting around the world. I had a preview of what impact this campaign will have on our members a month ago. I returned from university to visit my local guide unit, a group of about 15 girls aged 10 to 13. After playing some games to learn about human rights and about using one's voice to make a difference, I shared some statistics with the girls as they sat in a circle. I expected them to brush off the subject, as it might have been both foreign and scary. Without my asking, and to my surprise, several of the girls timidly raised their hands and shared how they had been affected by violence in their lives. The power of these stories was incredible. It was true peer learning on a sensitive subject. Following these stories, we affirmed that no one should be the subject of violence. There was a strong sense of solidarity and a passion to put a stop to violence against girls. Whether they whisper or whether they shout, girls and young women have a great deal to say about ending violence. I know that when we gather together as 10 million girls and young women and volunteers and partners, we can and we will put a stop to violence. I would now like to introduce Maria Laura from Costa Rica. She will be speaking in Spanish.
Hola, con mi voz yo voy a hacer conciencia. La violencia es un tema de gran importancia en el cual todos debemos tomar acciones para hacer un cambio. Muchas personas a diario son víctimas de violencia sin saberlo. Se enfrentan a diferentes agresiones, no solo a nivel físico, sino también a nivel intelectual, sexual y emocional. Estoy feliz del lanzamiento de esta campaña porque creo que puede ayudarnos a educar a las jóvenes y a las niñas a hacer valer sus derechos y a terminar con la violencia. En febrero, tuve el honor de participar en la Comisión de Estatus de la Mujer como representante de la Asociación Mundial de Guías Scouts. Esta experiencia me abrió los ojos a las situaciones de violencia en el mundo y me motivó a trabajar por los derechos de las mujeres. También, la Asociación de Guías Scouts de Costa Rica me ha dado la oportunidad de empezar a trabajar en este tema. Creamos una alianza con el Instituto Interamericano de Derechos Humanos y también una comisión para trabajar la violencia. Para mí, el hecho de ser guía scout ya es una acción contra la violencia, porque todo lo que he aprendido sobre deberes, derechos, liderazgos, me ha ayudado a valorarme como mujer y a poder enseñarle todas esas cosas que he aprendido a otras jóvenes y niñas. Creo que cada una de nosotras aquí presentes tiene la oportunidad de tomar acciones, aunque sean pequeñas, pero puede tomar grandes acciones para hacer un cambio. Quizás todas seamos de diferentes países, pero todas somos líderes y debemos unir nuestras voces para poder hacer valer los derechos y terminar con la violencia. Ahora los dejo con Pipa del Reino Unido, que ella va a hablar en inglés.
my voice, I'm going to show that this campaign is not just important, it is essential. I myself have been a victim of violence, both from a partner and from strangers. I know those feelings of fear, I know the feelings of anxiety, and I know the repercussions that come from being a victim of violence. And I don't want other girls to have to live with these feelings. Girl Guiding UK members have shown they're already concerned by these issues. A 2010 survey showed that 55% of UK girls believe that unprotected sex is caused by partner pressure. Another UK charity has shown that 1 in 3 teenage girls has experienced sexual violence from a partner. Girl Guiding UK has already voiced its support for the government's action plan on violence against women and girls, and we're now figuring out how we can work on this with our members. We've made a start with peer education sessions on healthy relationships, as teenage relationship abuse can be a precursor to domestic violence. We're also supporting the End Violence Against Women Coalition's campaign to combat sexual bullying in schools. Personally, I wish to develop my Speak Out, Reach Out, Camp Out project, which started from the Young Women's World Forum in 2010, in order to raise awareness using social media to empower girls to recognise the respect that they deserve to receive in all areas of their lives. Violence is affecting Guides and Scouts around the world. It affects women here. We need to take action to help our members and all girls. So we need to stop the violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So how are we going to stop the violence? How are we going to speak out for girls' rights? One way is through non-formal education, a badge curriculum to help girls understand about their rights and give them the tools, skills, and confidence to claim their rights and the rights of others. And we have partnered with UN Women to develop exactly this. I would like to welcome on stage Urjeshi Rudra from UN Women to explain and introduce this unique partnership. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Camilla. Good afternoon, everyone, Your Royal Highness, partners, friends. It is a great pleasure to be part of this campaign launch, to be part of your centenary celebration. I am getting the tingles. I'm looking at you and imagining 10 million of you taking action. That is a formidable force. Unlike most of you in this room, I did not grow up with Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. But at UN Women, we are very familiar with your work on the ground, with your communities, in the halls of the UN. You could not have chosen a better issue to focus your energy, your passion, imagination, and skills than ending violence against girls and young women. Because the vision that you have, Vision 2020, equal opportunities and a better world for all girls, cannot come true if we do not end violence against girls and women. The world we live in is beautiful. It is teeming with possibilities and has the largest ever young population. Girls and women, boys and young men, hold the key to the prosperity and well-being of this world. And yet half of the world's population, that is us, girls and women, are still denied the basic right to live free of discrimination, free of fear of violence. How can that be? You've heard how horrible the situation is. 15 to 76% of women and girls face violence in their lifetime. Gender inequalities and discrimination are more pronounced for girls and young women. They are violated as domestic workers, as refugees, immigrants. They are exposed to rape and HIV when they are forced into marriages and forced into early marriages. They are trafficked within and across borders. And many of you have discussed the issue with me over the last couple of days. And the one thing that you've all told me, one thing in common, is how common it is for a girl to be violated and how apparently normal it is to be violated and to feel violated. What can be done? The youngest delegate I spoke to at this conference said it with utter clarity. Violence against girls is just not cool. It has to stop. I think you have it in you to make it so uncool that people stop practicing it. You only have to look back into your own history to see that demanding this change, speaking out, standing up, and really being obstinate about it until you get your rights is the only way to be, the only way to go. It was 1907, I read, that when Scouting was born, it was not meant for girls. But that did not stop girls from starting their own Scouting activities. And in 1909, in just 2 years, girls gate-crashed the first Boy Scout rally. I think it is time to stage another gate crash. And this time, there are 10 million of you. Oh boy. Violence against women and girls is steeped in gender inequalities and discrimination. These discriminations start early, in subtle and obvious ways. Ending violence needs implementation of laws. It needs protection services. It needs transformation of beliefs, practices, and attitudes at an individual and community level, and that's where you come in. You've already taken the first step by launching this global campaign. Now you have to take this campaign to every girl and every boy you know, to partners, to decision makers. WAGS and UN Women first became partners through our unique advocacy platform, Say No Unite to End Violence Against Women. Say No offers an advocacy platform that each and every one of us can take to take action. What you see here is a screenshot of the website. It is an online, unique platform where each of you can go today, tomorrow, anytime. As you are taking action about this campaign, you can go there and post about it. You can post your initiative. You can post the actions you're taking as part of Stop the Violence. And the minute you do that, we make sure that your stories get out to the wider world. Say No drives global media visibility to local and international actions on ending violence against girls and young women, and women of all ages. So this is a platform that you can use to make your work known, to make your campaign known worldwide. So from a whisper to a shout, this is the platform that you can shout at in. So you can go to saynotoviolence.org to make your voices heard. And it's also a way to become part of a UN system-wide campaign and an initiative that has been led by the UN Secretary General at the highest level possible. It's called Unite to End Violence Against Women. And it shows that the UN is committed at the highest level to respond to this issue, to work together with all organizations, governments, and individuals on the ground. There are many ways to take action. In 2010, Girl Guides and Girl Scouts worldwide said no to violence against women by designing posters. How far can a poster go? Well, you showed us. You showed us that it can go very far indeed. The Sangam World Center created a huge life-size banner that took a life of its own. Girls displayed it at busy highways in India with the message to end violence against women and girls. It was featured in a local newspaper, and the girls used it as an entry point for discussion with local authorities, with community leaders about ending violence against girls and women. So what's next? What can we do together? Last year, UN Women and WAGS started exploring the idea of an education program on ending violence against girls and young women. We looked around for similar programs, and we found that very few existed, and those that existed are mostly on local and national levels, mostly local. So we wanted to take the issue global. We wanted to take the issue global through an international, unique, non-formal education curriculum. The badge curriculum will give you tools to understand the various forms of violence and the root causes of it within your communities. It will give you tools to engage girls as leaders and change agents. And it will allow you to involve other members of your community, boys, men, and the wider community, through peer education and community awareness activities. It will equip girls with skills and expertise to identify solutions in your communities. WAG's members in at least 20 countries will roll out the curriculum, that's the plan, piloting it, with national and local adaptations. And I'm looking at 10 million of you and going, it's not going to be just 20 countries, right? I don't think so. UN Women will take it even further through our partners and field officers on the ground. Imagine the potential. Imagine the potential that you have to change gender stereotypes, to question the norms with this curriculum, with this campaign. Imagine, and let's work together to make it happen. You are the present and you are the future. You have the power to make this world a place where women and girls can live with dignity, freedom, free from violence and discrimination. That's the vision that UN Women and WAGs share. Let's make that vision a reality for every girl you know. I will leave you with a message from Debbie Nova, singer, artist, songwriter, and champion for ending violence against women and girls. She's a Unite campaign champion. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Debbie Nova, and I would like to congratulate the Girl Guides and Girl Scouts around the world for taking a lead to end violence against women and girls. Violence against women and girls is an issue that's very close to my heart, and it's an issue that's persistent and widespread. 15 to 76% of women report having experienced it at some point in their lifetime. Therefore, I have partnered with the UN Secretary General's Unite to End Violence Against Women campaign. Unite calls upon governments, organizations, and individuals to come together to put an end to violence against women and girls. Violence against women and girls is one of the most common human rights violations of our times. It happens everywhere. It happens in all cultures and countries, and it happens in many ways. Whether we're talking about domestic violence, dating violence, rape, sexual harassment, female genital mutilation, or any type of violence, they are all unacceptable. Women and girls have the right to grow and live their lives free of such violence. You have the power and responsibility to say no to violence against women and girls. I'm counting on you to get involved, and I encourage both men and women, boys and girls, to take action on this issue within your community. Visit saynotoviolence.org and tell us what your actions to stop violence against women and girls are. Say no. Unite. Take action now. You can make a difference.
Thanks, Urjashi, and thanks to our member organizations who have already signed up in the development and piloting of this program. In addition to the badge curriculum, the campaign has many other elements that member organizations, girls and young women, communities, and other stakeholders can engage with. The most simple yet powerful way you and everyone can make a difference starts today. It starts right now. We want you to speak out for girls. We want to hear from you. We want to share your voice with other people so that they know we care about what happens to girls. We want to collect tens of thousands of voices so we can influence governments, international agreements, and spaces in your local communities, like your schools or councils, so that we can go to the media and say to them, look, this is big. People care about this. So start preparing now to do a bit of shouting later. On the 10th of April 2012, we all will be celebrating our centenary final year. On this day, we want to make sure that for the next 100 years, girl guiding and girl scouting continues to change lives. So between now and 10th of April, we will have worked with member organizations to develop Stop the Violence campaigns at their national level to launch in their countries on this day. Imagine, all around the world, girls and young women speak out for girls' rights. And at a global level, we'll support this action by holding a series of Stop the Violence campaign and events in our world centers. We'll launch a report that we have